10 random magic cards rated day number 63, everybody. Welcome to this week. Happy Monday. Let's see what the first card of your whole week is going to be. Let's find out. It's Magus of the Wheel. Now, Magus of the Wheel, originally printed in Commander 2015. 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 3/3 human wizard. You can pay 2 mana, tap it, and sacrifice it to cast Wheel of Fortune. Each player discards his or her hand, then draws 7 cards. Wheel of Fortune is a very good magic card. And it took people a while to realize exactly how good. We all knew that it was awesome, you know what I mean? And we'll talk more about it once we hit it. But once people realized how incredible that card was, it spiked by like 1,000%. It used to be pretty easy to find a copy as recently as 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and I know that doesn't sound recent, but the card had been out for 20 plus years by the time it spiked. About 10 years ago, you could find a copy of that card from Revised for like 10, 15 bucks, you know. Now it's like $100-something. There's a reason for that. It's because it's a very ridiculous magic card. And this guy just puts it on a body, which is still good. Turns out still good. I would even wager to say that a lot of people aren't going to necessarily try to kill your Magus of the Wheel, because they might want to wheel depending on like what point in the game you're at. So it's actually a pretty awesome card. And when we see a Wheel of Fortune, I'm going to have to give it like a ludicrously high score. And putting it on a body makes it worse. You're actually paying 5 mana in total for this. But in this case, I guess you can play it at instant speed too. So it's pretty sexy. You have to play the creature at sorcery, right? But you can play the ability at instant speed, and that's good. I'm going to throw this a 5.8. Pretty high score. Honestly, I think higher than some people would give it. But lower than others would give it, and much, much lower than Wheel of Fortune's going to get when we finally hit that card. But still, this lets you spin. This lets you spin, and it's like reanimatable, right? Might be slightly harder to do that with a Wheel of Fortune. So, I don't know. Altogether, just this effect's always going to be very good. So, 5.8 at least. We'll move on to Sigardian Savior. Printed in Innistrad Midnight Hunt. 5 mana, 3 and 2 white for a 3/3 angel with flying. When it ETBs, if you cast it, return up to 2 target creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your yard to the battlefield. So a fairly, it turns out, tame, I think, enter the battlefield trigger that is gatekept behind casting it. I don't know that it had to be. I really don't. This card never saw that much play when it was in standard. Some of us expected some things from it, mostly combo potential, and maybe, just maybe, as a way for aggro to get back on the board, but obviously its casting cost is pretty high for an aggro deck. That means you're left with mid-range decks, mostly that you want to play this in, or angel decks, but even then it has to have good targets, enough to make you want to play a 5-mana 3/3. You know, there's just not a whole lot of those. So could potentially be busted in like the limited environment or something like that, but just never really made it in standard. Although I still think it has some potential in Commander to, again, like reset combos or, you know, important creatures, because you only get to play 1 copy of each creature. So they're particularly important to your game plan. Maybe Savior is good enough, but still think there's probably better ways of doing it. All that said, I'm going to give this card like a 5.2, because I do think it's a little better than the average Magic card, and 5 is average. We'll move on to Anava Inn, only ever printed in Homelands. Got to be a reason for that, right? 3 mana, 1 and 2 green for a sorcery. Gain 1+ star life, star being equal to the total number of green creatures in play. So if you play it on turn 3, probably going to gain 3 life for 3 mana. You're going to cast Healing Salve at sorcery speed for 3 times what a Healing Salve costs. Pretty bad. Late in the game is where you want to cast this, where you have a bunch of elves or something. So this could read 3 mana, gain 20 life if you have enough elves or tokens or whatever. So I guess that's fine, but probably still not necessarily worth a slot in your deck unless gaining all that life is triggering something else, right? So Homelands is not good. There's only a few good cards in Homelands. The best thing I can say about this is that, once again, Brian Snowdy knocks it out of the park. This is really, really good-looking art to me. Sort of cozy little style with the full moon in the forest in the background, all the stars, too, in the sky. And just the inn looks very nice. Fairy tale, inviting, you know. I really like it. I like the sign that says, "Welcome to the Inn." It's a very, very good art. But that does not make it a good card. It turns out, contrary to popular belief, does not make it a good card, but I do support the art. I'll give this a 3. It's actually like a 2.7. It really is. And even that is slightly generous, man. So let's go ahead and move on to, King Suan, only ever printed in Arabian Nights and part of the reserve list. This is $170 to buy. Could be one of the more expensive cards we've ever looked at. This is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 1/1 Human Noble. It says Summon King, but it's actually a Human Noble. Tap, destroy target Jinn or Ifrit. So there's not a whole lot of those, it's just really kind of art. Back in the day, there were, right? You have to worry about Serendip Ifrit. You'd have to worry about Juzam Jinn, obviously. There are a few, man, that you'd have to worry about. So this is a decent card back in the day, sort of a sideboardy piece before sideboards were really a thing, mostly a kitchen table playable. Like my friend owns Juzam Jinn or Mohammedi Jinn, and I'm going to kill those guys. So it's not like terrible in context of the way back, but nowadays it's just kind of a fun novelty. It's a card from Arabian Nights, so it's a little bit parasitic. And what I mean by that is that it mostly works within the context of its own set's mechanics. That's what parasitic means in Magic. And it doesn't really do much outside of that set, So it's actually not a great Magic card. It really isn't. But maybe you have a way of making all of your opponent's creatures djinns. Like somehow there's cards in Magic. I'm sure there are. Conspiracy or something like that. Does it work on your opponent's guys too? I need a card that makes all creatures in play a certain, like whatever the name type is. And then King Suan is actually sick. So I guess you could use him that way. But we're really reaching here because I don't want to rate this card too low, but I know it deserves a pretty low rating. So I'm just going to give a 2 mana 1/1 that with an ability you almost never use, like a 1.1. You know what I mean? Like it has to be something like that, but I'll bump them up to a 1.6 just in case you have tricks or you run into a random Ifrit. could happen, but we'll move on to Aladdin. Wow, another Arabian Nights card. It's amazing. This one was printed in Chronicles, is not on the reserve list, and therefore has a worthless version, and also a version that cost over $100. I know we've never hit 2 3-digit cards in a row in terms of price, but Aladdin is 4 mana, 2 and 2 red for a summon Aladdin. It's actually a human rogue. You can pay 1 and 2 red and tap to take control of an artifact from an opponent. Gain control of target artifact for as long as you control Aladdin is how that's written in today's verbiage, and that's actually much better. This is an example of how sometimes modern rules text can make things a lot easier to understand and not so muddy, so that's good. But yeah, just gain control of an artifact, not bad. It's better than King Suan, especially in context of Commander. And depending on the kind of pod you're in, I would actually think it would be really funny to make a Commander deck where this is your Commander. Like if everyone's playing with busted artifacts, like sure, I'll take your Soul Ring and your Soul Ring and your Soul Ring. That's kind of cute, but obviously there's like 6-7 mana artifacts you want to take with this. I don't know. It's definitely still very cute and almost very close withstands a modern context. So I'm going to give Aladdin like a honorary 5 of the video there. I think he deserves it. I do, man. You can probably do some fun stuff with it. We'll move on to Daxos, Blessed by the Sun, originally printed Theros Beyond Death, and then in a bunch of other stuff. Well, not necessarily. What's the media insert that's worth like $12? Oh, okay. All right, that makes sense. Anyway, it's Daxos is 2 mana, both of it white, for a 2-star legendary enchantment creature demigod. The toughness there is equal to your devotion to white. Whenever another creature you control enters the battlefield or dies, you gain 1 life. Man, Daxos is so cool. I'm going to order a Daxos. I think I have a Daxos, so I have to check my collection. But just in case, buy Daxos. That's 12 cents, man. Since I've started a new sheet on my notebook, I've already got like 4 cards I need to buy. But anyway, Daxos is good. It's kind of a soul sistery card, a soul warden, right? We see a lot of these at 2 mana, but at 2 mana, Daxos is the best one we've ever seen. I think it's actually really safe to say. You just can't play multiple copies of it. Good commander, though. It's fun to have this, gain life effect in the command zone, but there's probably other better life gain commanders. You'd rather play Amalia and have Daxos be part of the 99 because you still have a pretty decent devotion to white. And in certain decks, this thing can be like a 2/7, like really, really easily. I've seen it happen a lot. So, man, Daxos is more than fine. I'm going to give this card a 5.7. Is that okay? Is that too high, too low? Audience score. Audience score of the day. I have to do it. Using my lifeline. What do you give Daxos? Tell me in the comment section. And I will feel free to use another lifeline later if I have to. Because there may be a more interesting card. But I'm interested in what you guys think of an effect like this. But we'll move on to Restore Balance. Ziggy would like to be let in to the room, not out of the room. So I just wanted to let you know that. I will probably let him in after this video. But Restore Balance is legal in Commander. This effect is legal in Commander. Think about that. It's $1 for basically balance with the suspend effects. So you don't pay anything to play this, really. You pay a white, though, to suspend it for 6 turns. So each player chooses a number of lands he or she controls equal to the number of lands controlled by the player who controls the fewest lands, and then sacrifices the rest. And then players sacrifice creatures and discard cards in the same manner. So it is literally balance. If you've never seen balance before, it's banned in Commander for a reason. This gives you all kinds of time, right, to prepare for the effect, and allows for jockeying of position and all that stuff. But ultimately, it's still like a really, really powerful effect, even if it's seen coming by multiple turns. So I'm going to give Restore Balance like a 5.9. I don't know if I want to venture into 6 territory with this because, again, it's so predictable. You don't hear about it too often being played in Commander. But again, Balance is banned in Commander for a reason. So I have to give this like a score that's fairly above average. So I will graze 6 territory, give us a 5.94. And note that 6 is a pretty good score. But we'll move on to Croft Manor here. What are you actually? Command Tower, which we've done before, so I'll skip. Pippin, Guard of the Citadel, is 2 mana, a white and a blue for a 2/2 legendary halfling soldier with both Vigilance and Ward 1. You can tap it, and another target creature you control gains protection from the card type of your choice until end of turn. So, a weird Mother of Runes kind of effect on this. He's headbutting the door. Hold on, he really wants to be in here. You talk amongst yourselves about Pippin. Talk about what you would give this card, sure, and then I'll be back in like literally 5 seconds. I gotta let this cat in. He's going crazy. Hold on. Ziggy, what are you doing, buddy? You come in. Yeah, meow. Come on, all the way. Yeah, there he is. There's that guy. Yeah, what a buddy. Or how? Yeah, hey, bud. All right, here we are. Come on. Sit in Papa's lap. There we go. All right, so Pippin, 2 mana for a 2/2 Vigilance, Ward 1, and the weird Mother of Runes, but against card types. So you usually pick instant or whatever, because whatever's targeting it's probably an instant. But maybe protection from like planeswalkers or creatures that's trying to use an activated ability. I don't know. But you can also choose creatures and get the creature through that you're targeting for damage that turn. Oh, it's a good card, man. Good card. I have seen this one before. And I feel like I rated it like one of the best cards of the day during, Lord of the Rings preview season. I still like this. Every time I look at it, I just like it. Man. What did I give the balance effect? A 5.94, It's like, kind of wish that I'd have given it a higher score now. I really do. It's very powerful. But Pippin being able to be a commander is a huge deal too. So I'm going to give this a 6.2. Pippin's really good, man. It actually is good. But move on to another 2-drop or Aorus Legend. Weird. Lavinia, Aorus Renegade, is also a white and a blue. Let me do a tick mark for Pippin there. But this is also 2 mana, white and blue, for a 2/2 legendary human soldier. Each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with converted mana cost greater than the number of lands they control. And whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. You can get this for as low as 30 cents. Oh, and that's the retro bordered one. That's pretty cool, actually. I like retro borders so much. Why is this so cheap? Kind of surprising. But yeah. Still, this card is pretty hype, and I don't know why it never really saw much play, both in Standard, where it did have things it could do with its text box, and also really in Commander, you never really hear too much about this card, which is a bit surprising. It's actually very, very cool. I'm going to give this a 5.3, because it's definitely good, but it's, mostly relying on what your opponents are doing. It's kind of a hate bear. If you've never heard that term, it's a 2-drop that, stops your opponent from doing something, or at least like contributes to making it more difficult for your opponent to do a thing. So those are typically worth something, you know what I mean? So I give it a 5.348. We'll move on to Crumbling Necropolis. We have done this card before. It can't be our last card of the day. Here's Vindicate, though, baby. Originally printed in Apocalypse. This is 3 mana, 1, a white, and a black for a sorcery. Destroy target permanent, so it can be a land. You can destroy a land with this, which is just amazing. Iconic card for Orzhov decks here. That doesn't necessarily have to be in like every Orzhov commander deck. Like if you're all in on sacrifice synergies because your commander's Ellis Core, I'm that guy. You don't have to play Vindicate, but like it'll still be a good card. No matter what, any deck that can play this card. Anytime you cast it, it'll be fine. Even at sorcery speed, I promise you that this card is unbelievable. Destroy target land sometimes is good too in your Orzhov deck. You blow up a Cradle or some other ridiculous land. So yes, Nykthos, right? So Cabal Coffers. Just Vindicate is one of the better like point and click single target removal spells in the history of Magic. It really is. Even at 3 mana sorcery speed, even at that rate, it is. Anything you want to. Any way you want it, that's the way you need it. Destroy target permanent. Hey Ziggy, is your like butt in the camera? I bet it just about is. Let me like move that. Although I'm sure you'd all appreciate everybody love little Ziggy butt. But I'm gonna have to give Vindicate like a 6.5, man. Maybe even more. I have to give Vindicate a 6.66 is what we'll give this card. Just incredible. Incredible spot removal. Always has been, probably always will be, right? So they've done it like Vindicate before, but they've never quite reprinted Vindicate. In Standard, we have Legions to Ashes right now, which is like a Vindicate dupe, but it doesn't do this. It doesn't target all the things that Vindicate targets, but it is really, really close. But I'm telling you, being able to blow up a land is disgusting. So yes, Vindicate gets at least a 6.6, and that's a pretty good last card for the day, everyone. Hope that your Monday turns out to be a fun day. You know what I'm saying? Love you guys. Bye.